Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Courtside with Christy and Gabe on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. I am Christy Winters-Scott, joined as always by my guy, Gabe Ibrahim. Gabe, so many fantastic collegiate level games to discuss, but also mind-boggling WNBA free agency news that is ongoing and intriguing to say the least.
You know, I thought for some reason, and I was so wrong, I thought today was not going to be like this huge news day. Like I knew we were going to get like the official signings, and then, you know, we're going to talk around. Richard Cohen was breaking some salaries. I broke some salaries. You know, we had Her Hoop Stats really value that. That's why you should be following us on Twitter at Her Hoop Stats. You should be subscribed right here on YouTube or on our podcast feed. And you should, like, our Twitter names will pop up so you can follow us both on Twitter. But yeah, so I was like, you know, hey, like, you know, I've been through the circus, right? I've been to the circus. Like, I know what it's going to be like. This is like year 3 for me. But man, the thing went crazy. it went crazy from the moment. This morning we had a press release that was wrong for Jonquel Jones, and we had all this. So yeah, we're gonna have to start here on the, if you're listening on the audio only podcast, we're starting with WNBA Free Agency. If you're on YouTube, we're gonna do the thing where we split up the WNBA stuff and the college stuff for you guys, because we know you guys all have your interests. But oh God, what a day. I think we should start at this top. I think 2 pieces of news that we didn't know last week, but we know now this week. Breanna Stewart, Jewell Loyd returning to Seattle. Yeah. Jewell's coming back on a 2-year Supermax deal. Breanna Stewart coming back on a 1-year Supermax deal. Obviously, Super is also returning. So the gang is back together in Seattle for 1 year. So what was your reaction to that?
You know, at first when I heard that Breanna Stewart was sniffing around in New York, I was like, I thought, you know, I didn't think that Candace Parker would leave LA to go to Chicago. I was wrong. So I was kind of like, well, shoot, Candace did it, so Breanna can do it. And it didn't happen. So it's fine. But still, I was kind of leaning towards Stewart going to New York. So just for 1 year to come back to Seattle, that still is not sitting well with me. Just 1 year. And I know Sue Bird is back for her final year, or I'm saying final year. We don't know, but for 1 year.
She says it's her final year.
The final year. No. Okay. Anyway, well, we'll see. And it remains to be seen, right? But I just think that the 1 year window there is very interesting to me. You know, not a long-term signing situation for Stewie. And Jewell Loyd got the 2-year. You know, I don't know.
So you're right. Those years numbers are very, very interesting. For the perspective, first off, like, it is great that Seattle brought back these 2 free agents. I think, you know, coming into the offseason, we may have, you know, penciled that in, that Stewart and Loyd are returning, especially when we heard the news about Bird. I think we talked about it, that we said, hey, you know, now that Sue Bird's back in the fold, it really looks like these players are coming back. So got to start off with kudos to Seattle. They got it done. They got it. They didn't lose. They didn't lose Breanna Stewart and Jewell Loyd yet.
That part.
Because you're right. So 1 year for Breanna Stewart, time's up with Sue Bird. Cool. Here's the problem. Jewell Loyd signed a contract pursuant to a core designation, which makes her a core player, not only for this season, but also for next off season. And because her contract runs through the 2023 season, Seattle's not going to have the core designation available to them next year. So Breanna Stewart, unless Jewell Loyd gets traded before January 15th of next year, will be an unrestricted free agent next offseason. I think it was a mistake by Seattle to not core Breanna Stewart. But then at the other hand, you might have lost Jewell Loyd this year, so you don't even get Sue's one last dance. But I think a lot of signs are pointing to us heading into next offseason with the expectation that Breanna Stewart will leave. And that's my personal expectation, because I think she had a lot of control over the situation. I think she and Jewell Loyd share the same agent. So does Sue Bird. So they were all in contact here with each other, obviously, and the agent is representing all of them separately, but it all works together.
Sure.
So I think she's engineered this to have her one last ride with Sue and leave somewhere. For now, you have to guess it's New York because it's the only place she took a visit this offseason, and for a bunch of other reasons that we talked about in a previous podcast. You got to assume that she's now going to, that's the plan at least, is she wants to look around next year, and I would guess that she would leave next year. But man, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and I think, you hit the nail on the head right there when you said, that she took a visit to New York. That was the only team that she was flirting with in that way. So for me, I'm like, well, if you're flirting,
it's the same thing as cheating.
What does that really mean? And maybe not for now, like you said, but your eyes are not on Seattle exclusively, right? If you're talking to New York about possibilities, and that's not a shady comment. I mean, it's business and we understand that. But if you weren't interested in leaving at all, then it'd be like this, right? That's where I am with it. So, I mean, business is business. And, the hometown home strings and heartstrings or whatever are in place. Not for this year, but maybe for years down the road for her, to conclude her WNBA career closer to home. Who knows?
Who knows? We said that about LeBron.
It feels like that.
But remember the whole closing her career thing. Like, LeBron went to Cleveland and then he was like, I'm out.
He deuced. I know.
So
he deuced.
And Breanna has such a long career ahead of her. It's hard to project. But I think going into the next year, that has to be expected. If you want Seattle fans, I'm going to throw you a bone right now. If you want
I know they're probably mad at me now. So.
If you want an alternative explanation, she went to New York because New York has a really advanced facilities, training staff, performance staff, coaching. Just they have an owner who has spent a lot of money on both the Nets and the Liberty to bring first class amenities to those organizations, and I think that's why New York has had so much success in free agency because they have those amenities, and it may not have showed up quite in the win column, but they definitely have an advantage, I think, in that area, especially as compared to Seattle, who I've heard is more, behind the times on some of these things. So potentially what this is all about is Breanna Stewart trying to leverage Seattle into making the necessary upgrades that she feels that a team is going to need to win in the WNBA going forward. Because at the end of the day, we could talk about her that she lived in, her family lives in Syracuse, or she grew up in Syracuse, or, that she has so much history in Seattle. End of the day, players like Breanna Stewart and Jewell Loyd, they want to win. She feels like New York provides a better winning atmosphere and a place for her to become a much better basketball player. Then that's going to be her choice when she gets to next season. I think Jewell Loyd, would be in a similar spot had she not been courted. I think, whoever got courted would have been in the spot of the other one, right? So
true.
I just think for those two players, like I would say it's winning first. So if she can make the situation in Seattle as good in terms of winning championships as it is in New York, in her mind, if that's the choice, that I think she would stay. But that's just one alternative theory that I want to throw out there for Seattle Storm fans. Well, and I also want to mention Brand January is reportedly signing with Seattle. So that's the other.
Yeah, and that's big. I mean, the veteran leadership of both January and Bird running the show, defensive stalwart that Breanna January has been over the course of her career. Fantastic. So I just think that's going to be a fun one to watch, especially with Pokey Chapman now as an assistant coach, with Noelle Quinn as the head coach. I think that's going to be intriguing to say the least, just to see, obviously, with Pokey Chapman's advice from a point guard's perspective. And I just think that when you have all of those great minds in the same room, and I'm talking about Sue Bird, included, obviously, but just to bounce those ideas or schemes or adjustments off of that level of basketball acumen, I mean, to me, that's just exciting from a point guard's perspective, right? And I mean, I played post, but from a point guard's perspective, I mean, that's gonna be heavy duty in Seattle, and I think that's gonna be fun to watch also.
Yeah, and I think she's going to be a great addition there. She is 35, so this is, we're getting towards the last go round for January, but she was still super solid last year, and I think she'll bring a lot.
Tough.
She'll bring a lot to Seattle.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting, I should mention too, like we're not going to go into like the cap minutia or the salary minutia.
No.
Like that's not what Christy and I do. I will be doing that on Friday with Richard Cohen.
So you guys do that. I don't like the minutia.
We're gonna nerd out on the basketball side over here. We'll nerd out on the cap side on Friday. So just want to let you know. No, and Seattle, I mean, look, they're gonna have to. This probably means the end of Jordan Canada. And I'm sorry, we should mention Mercedes Russell did resign in Seattle for 3 years as a restricted free agent. I think they got a pretty good deal. Again, that'll be on.
Yeah, good deal for her.
But yeah, so they're bringing back Mercedes Russell. But that probably means the end of Jordan Canada's time in Seattle. She's a restricted free agent, so we'll see where she goes. But man, it's gonna be different in Seattle too, because they've never really. I can't remember. I don't know. Maybe they've never had to deal with these sort of like free agency rumors and kind of feeling of this feels like the last dance, right?
I think so.
Right?
It really does. That's what I was saying. Like with the 1 year here, 1 year there, 2 years here. I just think they're seeing that window closing on that core group, and it's not a bad thing, because then I mean Jordan Canada will land somewhere, and I don't mean to take a hard right or left turn here, but I'm going to do it with the Washington Wizards. I mean, I'm sorry. See, here I am. The Wizards are about.
She can help the Wizards too.
The Wizards are playing the Bucks like right now. My girl Lisa Byington on the call for the Bucks. Anyway, I digress. The Washington Mystics, they are looking for a backup point guard. They also hold the #1 pick in this year's draft. But when you just said Jordan Canada, I don't know how many bells just went off in my head, because Mike Thibault, the head coach and general manager for the Washington Mystics, gave quite the teaser today and said that it would be quite intriguing to keep an eye on what the Mystics do in the next couple of days regarding picking up maybe one intriguing, which is his word, intriguing key piece to the puzzle. And then I forgot who asked on the call today. We were both on that call, and he said, well, it's probably, or somebody asked, is it going to be a backup point guard? Who's going to be the backup point guard? And he said, well, you may just have to wait the next couple of days. And then I was like, oh, snap. And I think everybody had their finger like, oh, snap. Where could they go with that pick or selection or choice in free agency? And wow, Jordan Canada. Does she fit the piece? Is she that piece? Is that just a sprint I'm doing mentally right now around the track? You
did what everyone did as soon as, I think it was Jackie Powell who asked that question of the next and Bleacher Report. She asked a question about, and got the intel on both. There's going to be another signing and the point guard. I don't want to throw cold water on everyone, but Kareem Copeland has said that it's not Jordan Canada, and I can also confirm that it's not Jordan Canada. That's what I've been told. Well, I can't confirm anything because I don't know. Maybe. But
still,
from my intel, it's not Jordan Canada. So I have no clue what is happening.
It's interesting.
What's going on with the Mystics too is, like, if you don't live on Twitter, I live on Twitter. Unfortunately, it's extremely bad for my mental health. But if you don't live on Twitter, you probably miss, like, the Mystics tweeted out this picture of like the team, and there was like blank silhouettes.
Yes.
And the Sun did this too, but the Sun was very obvious who it was gonna be. And they also the Sun kind of made each head shape look big. And I said they look like Dementors, and they did from Harry Potter. So they made the heads look big. But now the Mystics did it like really like clear silhouette of a particular person. So now everyone on WNBA Twitter is trying to fit people into the silhouettes in order to figure out who this mystery signing is.
Which is great.
So much so that the Mystics actually released a second silhouetted picture with even more players.
Yeah.
So I'm like mostly sure it's not Jordan Canada that's coming.
Okay.
But it would make sense that it is a restricted free agent coming, because that would be the reason why we couldn't hear about it today. That also being said, Jordan Cannon was like the obvious choice. Once I put those two things together, it's like, oh, we can't announce it today. Why can't we announce it today? Because it's a restricted free agent. So if it's a restricted free agent, we have to wait 4 days for the other team to match, even if the other team cannot match. So this all makes sense for Jordan Cannon. But there's another free agent whose team cannot match her contract. Well, actually, we have to talk a little bit more about Chicago.
Possibly. Yeah.
But Diamond DeShields is the other answer that I've come up with, and that's it. That's all I got. I know Diamond DeShields is not like a backup point guard. I don't care.
Okay.
I'm just saying that's all I got, guys. If anyone has any better theories, I've heard players from across the world that I have never heard of before in my life being bandied about for this spot. So, hey, send us your takes. We will listen to all of them before we find out. But yeah, Diamond is the other answer that I've come up with.
Wow. And that would be interesting as well. I mean, I thought, speaking of Chicago, with Meesseman being signed by the Sky, I mean, just very comfortable. Mike Thibault told us today that Emma Meesseman had some really good, respectable discussions with him about her plans moving forward in the WNBA. And unfortunately for DC fans and for the Mystics, she won't be in a Mystics uniform again, to see all the pieces back together. Tina Charles also not back. So that blockbuster lineup with Clark and anyway, we just won't ever know what that looked like.
Elizabeth Williams coming into the fold. Meesseman Allen re-signing as you predicted last week. I don't know. I know she's not above me, but that's how it is in Zoom. And the mystery signing, Tiana Hawkins coming back, Shatori Walker-Kimbrough coming back. What was the thing you're most excited about here?
I love that Tiana Hawkins is coming back. I was sad when she left, and not because she's a DMVer and Riverdale Baptist and Terp and champion here in 2019 with the Mystics, and went down the bubble with the Mystics and really, captured all of the fans while she was here in a Mystics uniform. But I just love that Mike Thibault said the biggest thing that he missed in particular about her outside of the tactical things was her leadership and her voice in the locker room, and how she was always the first person to speak up, and how she's the best teammate. And Myesha Hines-Allen co-signed that. Just to know that part about her. I mean, we know she's a fantastic mom to Little E, and he's coming back too. And I just think this is where she belongs. It's just like the perfect fit in all ways, culturally, for the program, for the organization, for the leadership qualities that she possesses. I just think it's a wonderful reunion. And the same for Shatori Walker-Kimbrough in that regard. Shatori Walker-Kimbrough is back as well. And, she journeyed away for a little while there and had to really fight her way back to the league. So, kudos to Mike Thibault and staff giving the respect to players who they know a lot about, who fit their system, and they know that already. So it's not like they're experimenting with the fit of those two. So I love that. And I love that Myesha Hines-Allen is coming back, and at least we get part of that puzzle that we thought we were going to get, minus Clark and minus Charles and Meesseman. But with Clark in there, I'm excited about that. With Elizabeth Williams, the diversity on the defensive end, I think, and offensively, is going to be really fun to watch how this new group meshes with one another.
Yeah, no, I think this group makes just a little bit more sense. I mean, I love the idea of like the Emma, Tina, EDD, like super mega team, but I think this is more sustainable too in the future. I think that was kind of like, hey, we're going for the championship last year, the year before. Obviously it didn't work out because Elena Delle Donne wasn't healthy. And guess what? it ain't going to work out again if Elena Delle Donne's not healthy. So that's the bottom line is I think this team has done a good job locking up Myesha Hines-Allen for the next 3 years, locking up Ariel Atkins for the next 2. Same with Natasha Cloud. Like, Natasha's a little bit older, but definitely Myesha and Ariel Atkins are going to be here for hopefully a long time. Hopefully the number 1 pick fits into that. So I think they've done well to now make this team a team that can succeed in the present and succeed in the future, which is something that I kept bandying about this offseason. Like, they have a chance to do this. And I think they've done it pretty as well as they could. And to your point though, like, this team's going to be, the DC MO since EDD got here was really great offenses, right? I think it's going to flip this year. I think this team is going to win a lot on the defensive end because you have Elizabeth Williams, who is a former all defense first team selection. She is a really good rim protector. I know some people out there are going to say, hey, her synergy numbers are bad, and they're pretty average on the defensive end, but she definitely protects the rim. And this team last year gave up, I believe it was like 69% at the rim. It was like 5 percentage points higher than the next worst team in that statistic. And having Elizabeth Williams there, along with, fingers crossed, a healthy Elena Delle Donne, I think we're cooking with gas, along with Natasha Cloud, who's an all-defense second team selection, Alicia Clark, who's one of the best defenders in WNBA, ditto for Ariel Atkins. Like, there's an awesome defensive group that can come out of this team, but it all depends on EDD's health. And then we talked to her today. I don't know if you felt like I felt a little bit better. I don't know how you feel.
No, I felt very relieved. I felt very relieved listening to her process and just the confidence that she has in her body right now. I think that question was answered, and resoundingly so. I just thought that she was very clear with saying she's been pain-free for months. And I thought that was special to hear. I thought that was really a strong statement. And I thought, she said just a couple of days ago that she's gone through some really rigorous workouts where there were, a lot of rotations with her back, a lot of pivots, reverse pivots, pump fakes where, your body is being wrenched around. And she said she felt fine after that. And I think that's been the biggest difference for her. It's been, not necessarily everything that she's able to do in the workouts, but what she feels like after the workout. And so just to hear her say that, I think is really great. And I love that Mike Thibault said, going back to what you were saying about the defense, he said that they're going to be able to switch, and maybe even put Myesha Hines-Allen on point guards, and that to me, I mean, if they can be disruptive like that and have Myesha Hines-Allen hounding a point guard and, really being intentional about that, and the ability of players to switch, up to 3 positions on the floor, several of them can rotate and switch like that. That's going to be a compound issue for opponents for sure, because of that and the energy that they bring on the defensive end. I mean, we know what they can do on the offensive side. We know they can stroke it and put the ball in the basket, but I think it all is going to be predicated upon the energy that they bring on the defensive end. And now they have depth with their defense. And I think that is going to be a huge, huge difference maker. Like you said, I agree with that.
Yeah, and look, there's still some roster things to check out. I think there's 11 players on the roster now, plus the mystery signing, which we'll find out at some point. And so, there's going to be some, your unprotected contracts here: Sydney Weiss, Erica McCall, Megan Gustafson. Did we mention her? I don't know if I said her.
I don't think we did. Megan Gustafson is in. She's in. She's
back on the training camp contract. And she made the team last year. I thought she was good in the limited minutes she played. Then Hawkins and Walker Kimbrough. So those are your 5 unprotected contracts. There's going to need to be some, they're not all going to make the team, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And then they also, the team also signed Clara Lundquist and Kanglee Sewell to training camp contracts. They'll be in training camp. I wouldn't expect them to make the team, but nice to get them in the system.
Right.
So yeah, there's still some sorting out in Washington, and I'm pressing the brakes though on ADD a little bit. Just like, she has not done 5-on-5 yet. She hasn't done she hasn't done any contact in that setting. She's only done one-on-one, and that's great. And she sounded so much better in this year's press conference rather than last year's press conference.
Yes.
Night and day, makes you feel a lot better. But I'm just going to press the brakes. Let's press the brakes. Let's not get too excited. Let's not put too much pressure on it. It's an evolving situation. We'll see her in the team USA. She said she's not doing like the full team workouts, but she's going to get a lot of shooting, a lot of 5-on-0, a lot of playing in the gym with everyone else. So we'll see how her back does there. But it was encouraging. I don't want to sit here and say like, oh, EDD's coming back and this team's like I don't think it's fair to her to say that quite yet until we see it. But
I agree with that. But I also think, that her trusting her body and hearing her say that, I think is huge. And there, you asked a really good question to Mike Thibault about minutes restrictions or anything like that. And he didn't know right now, what that looks like 3 months away from the WNBA season, but he is going to be with USA Basketball as well. So trust and believe Mike Thibault is going to have his eyeballs on Elena Delle Donne when she does become fully activated with the USA Basketball team, and to see what she can tolerate. I'm sure that's going to be something that he's going to factor in leading into the Mystics season. And he's going to have his eyes on her, in practices and all of that. So I think that still obviously remains to be seen, but I think it's really great for her to be in that environment with those people, right? with the people that, love the game at a high level, have passion. She said, she's just found so much joy, and it's put so much perspective into almost losing the game that she loves so much, losing the game that she is passionate about and has worked so hard for. And then her body to say no, was really hard for her. But I think the fight that she has put forth to come back and to be pain-free for the last several months, I thought that was huge. Not like since last Wednesday. No, it's like there have been months now where her body has been retooled and, readjusted to how to land and how to move. I just thought it was really strong statement by her.
No, I hope.
I'm gonna get you there, Gabe. I'm always glass half full.
Hey, you know me. I'm always down for the optimism, but I don't want to get my hopes up again. I don't want to put it on it. But the team is set up for the future too. This number one pick's going to be.
That's true. I
think this team is. I feel much better about the future of the Mystics now, and the present is maybe just awesome. And honestly, Alicia Clark's on this team, and she's one of my favorite players to watch. So all else fails, if she's healthy, we're good, and she seems to be on track for camp. All right, let's get into Chicago. Good news first. Emma Meesseman joins the champs. That's just awesome. They have three. Well, they will have 3 Finals MVPs on the team with Copper, Parker, Meesseman. Fantastic.
I was twittering. Go ahead.
Fantastic stuff for Chicago. Great.
Yeah.
Bad news time. On the free agency special last night on ESPN, which was far too short. ESPN. That's not a hot take. Everyone has that take, but just wanted to put it out there. Holly Rowe reported that Courtney Vandersloot got a disrespectful offer. I'm putting that in quotation marks for reasons I'll explain in a minute. Disrespectful offer from the Chicago Sky, and now her team in Russia, UMMC ECAT. You all know ECAT. Is trying to pay her to sit out of the WNBA next season. And it's a similar thing to what ECAT did with Diane Taurasi. And
I was going to say that. Yep.
They're trying to do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about? The good news or the bad news?
I want to start with the good news because I like good news.
Start with the good news. Good news is good.
There's a lot of good news. I think, my eyebrows went up when Emma Meesseman signed with Chicago because of what she is able to do on the floor. And then obviously with Candace Parker on the floor with her and Vander Quiggs, come on, man. And she's very familiar with those two, Courtney Vandersloot and Allie Quigley, because they played together in Russia. And now they have, and Walters, is one of the assistant coaches now. And she was also on the coaching staff with those 3 overseas. So it just kind of made it all fall in line in terms of the stars, literally and figuratively, aligning for Chicago to have them all there at once. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, though, like you said, who they're going to be able to retain. Obviously, Stephanie Dolson is not coming back. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how what we see on paper shakes out when they actually physically get on the floor together.
Yeah, I think Dolson. So Dolson leaves to New York. That was reported a little bit before free agency, but Dolson leaves to New York. And I think replacing her with Meesseman, I mean, look, there's very few players in this league that have as high of a ceiling as Emma Meesseman. We got to see it firsthand. Her performance in the 2019 finals is unforgettable.
Yeah.
But there are, I think her performance in the 2020 bubble was pretty forgettable. There was times where she couldn't handle that load that came with being the team's main offensive engine. Luckily, she won't be asked to do that in Chicago.
No.
If they retain at least most of their players. So
right.
I'd like it. I do think, though, it's not quite like the league ending move that everyone wants to talk about. It's like, oh yeah, hey, Chicago's going to dominate now. It's like, no, I think they're going to probably be about the same. And especially, I mean, I don't know. I remember the Mystics talking about, or maybe it wasn't the Mystics, maybe it was just some reporting, some chatter that Emma might not be available at some point later in the season, potentially for the early rounds of the playoffs.
Okay.
I'm not reporting that. I don't know. I haven't looked at the international schedule close enough to know what her international obligations will be, but there's that possibility. I think for the gambit here for Chicago is that they just won the title and they're playing with house money, right?
Okay.
They can take more chances at the moment. I think Washington feels like we can't take any more chances now. Like they need players that are there and committed to being there. And I'm not saying it's bad that, I'm not saying it's not virtuous or not moral for Emma to do whatever she wants. I'm just saying from a team building perspective, you can only put up with this sort of up in the airness so much. And I think in the last 3 years, the Mystics have went through too much of it, and they're going to have to continue going through it with Elena Delle Donne's back. So I think the choice was, hey, we can move from Emma to Elizabeth Williams, who maybe is not quite the same player, but we can get enough out of her and make up the difference. So I think that's kind of what happens. But I love the fit in Chicago. Don't get me wrong; she's going to step into that Dolson role, and it's going to be great because she can do some more than Dolson, I think, as a shooter and as a play finisher.
Sure. I agree with that. I just think that, her versatility, and then when she is in attack mode, I mean, we saw that, like you said, in the 2019 finals and that championship run for the Mystics. I just thought she was, without her, they don't get that. Yeah. I mean, with her performance in that series. So I just think with all the other pieces around her, that's going to be a really, really tough squad. And experience level 2, I think you have to factor that in. I don't know what the offer was for Vandersloot that was disrespectful, apparently, from what Ollie Rowe said. I wonder what that means. If it's disrespectful, does she leave? It's disrespectful, but you're still going to sign it, or it's disrespectful and you're leaving? There's no in between on that, right?
Okay. Well, first off, I want to say I credit Stephen Trinkful for changing the way I think about play finishing with Emma Meesseman, because I know he listens, so I want to give him a shout out. But for Courtney, Courtney clearly wants something. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe perhaps it's more money, but the whole I've been disrespected thing, that is a negotiating tactic. That's not, I don't think, yes, there are times where a player will be, disrespected by an offer. I think it happened with Simone Augustus. But I think when it comes out like this through reports and stuff that's going to be said on ESPN, in front of the biggest audience you could possibly get, right? Like, this didn't leak to me, for example, someone who's just going to tweet it. This leaked to Holly Rowe. And not that much stuff leaks to Holly Rowe that she's going to report on ESPN. So it's like, we have to start thinking about this from the perspective of, people doing this with their motives in hand. So I think this is mainly a negotiating tactic, whether that is for more money. or potentially for something else. And one thing that has been brought up to me a ton lately is the prioritization rules that are going to take effect in the WNBA soon. So there's going to be a rule that essentially starts next year that players can be fined for every day that they miss the WNBA training camp. Wow. And if they do not report to the WNBA before the season starts, they will be suspended without pay. So you can't, if you're not there on May 1st, I believe it's 2023. It could be 2024. I got to double check that on the CBA. Again, we'll talk more about this minutia on Friday with Richard Cohen. But sure. I just want to tell you guys, like, if you're not there on May 1st of 2023, you cannot play in the WNBA.
I don't know.
Period. According to the CBA at the moment. For players like Vandersloot, and I think to a lesser extent, Breanna Stewart, just because Breanna Stewart has more advertising and endorsement money here, so the money is a little less important to her. But for a player like Courtney Vandersloot or a player like Allie Quigley, they get a ton of their money, a huge percentage of their money from ECAP, from their Russian team. The Russian team, yeah. So to take that revenue stream away from them and then also say, well, you can only get this amount, I think that's what's causing the tension, is saying you can't have both. If it's both ways, then I'm going to go to the place that has more money. I like the WNBA. I ain't sacrificing my money for it. So I think that's what's happening. And I think there's going to have to be some sort of concession here from Chicago. And I'm not sure that's a money thing. I'm not sure that's a money thing.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was just wondering, and not in a disrespectful way, but just wondering what that means. Like, it is, if that's what it is, then what's the final answer? And what is that going to be based upon? I just think that that's kind of where I am with that scenario for her. And I know with Allie Quigley being there, I don't think she would want to leave, right? So well, Allie might retire too. Well, that's true too. But maybe she doesn't. So I think she wants to stay active and, stay on the court with her as long as she can, right? I mean, if it's business-wise, if that makes the most sense, if they can make it work. And she hasn't come out to say that it's been disrespectful. So like you said, we're basing this on leaked reports. So we don't know. Came from an agent. I'll tell you guys now. I don't know who their agent is. I don't know how the whole thing. Okay. It came from an agent. That's what it came from. There's you could tell when the stuff comes from a team. You can tell when the stuff comes from an agent if you pay attention enough and you read this came from, assumedly, Courtney Vandersloot's agent. See, that's why you're a lawyer. So, I'm listening and learning. I'm listening and learning to the verbiage of a lawyer breaking things down for us here. I'm a nerd first and foremost, and that's why I figured all this out. No, I mean, I could be wrong too, but I'm guessing it was Courtney Vandersloot's agent. That stuff comes out on ESPN because they want the audience, and it got out. And guess who? I retweeted that, and I got a bunch of likes. So thank you for the content. Whoever leaked that, I appreciate it. But it is. I think we're gonna have to see something here, and I think it has to do with the prioritization rule. Although maybe it's money. Maybe they tried to offer her, something south of Candace Parker's deal because they wanted to keep X, Y, or Z, or they want to give Emma more. I did the math, and it is really hard to fit Emma Meesseman at any number above 170,000. And, she was making way more than that in DC, in the bubble. So it is going to be a tight fit money wise, but I don't think it's money necessarily that's really an issue. And I think this situation has a lot of ripple effects for the W. This is a big deal because one of the points of the last CBA was to get rid of this exact situation, to get rid of the idea of a player sitting out to go play in Europe. We're going to raise the money and we're going to tell you that you have to be here. That was the idea. But now I think it's kind of coming back to they didn't get the movement from the European leagues to make that happen and make that work, and now it's creating a problem for the players. So there's going to have to be something that gives here, and I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, I agree, and I think what you said that kind of most alerts me to possible issues with several players is the May 1st deadline in 2023. Now, I know there have been many players who have an extended postseason. I know Myesha Hines-Allen had an extended postseason in France last season and missed training camp and got here just before. I don't know how they're going to fix that unless they do something with the scheduling for postseason play overseas. Like, how are you can't expect them to leave their, win and you're in or lose and you're done situations in postseason play overseas to come back. I don't know how they're gonna decide that, because if you work all season with them, like you're overseas all year, and then it's like, well, championship game is on May 2nd. Like, what do those players do? And they're like, well, I got to be back May 1st. So good luck to you guys. That's hard. That's gonna be what I want to see people choose and how they're gonna fix that. I think it's got to be a scheduling thing on the other side to shorten season.
Yeah, well, so here, I do want to confirm that it is in 2023. I'm looking at the prioritization rule on page 125 of the collective bargaining agreement, which goes through 2027, making it a problem that we may have to change this thing now.
That's what I'm saying.
As someone was so kind to remind me today, and I should have known this as a lawyer, every agreement can be changed, folks. So it's not impossible that this thing gets changed. Every agreement can be changed. So it's not impossible that this thing gets changed. But I think the problem, like they mentioned, those, like you would wish that the European leagues would, would work with the WNBA.
Right.
They have no incentive to whatsoever, though. They would only be doing it because they think it'd be good for them. And I don't think the WNBA has provided enough evidence to them to say that this is your players playing over here is good for us. And clearly the WNBA is treating our players going over to Europe to play as bad. So the natural reaction is to say, well, our players going over to America to play as bad. So now it's creating this, and I was warned about this, like, honestly, at the beginning of the pandemic, it was right after the CBA was signed. I was warned that this was coming down the pike by someone I know in Europe. I just put it off the side of my head. I was like, that's not gonna be a problem. Turns out it's a huge problem. So that is definitely something to keep an eye on. And I think that comes to head with the Courtney Vandersloot situation. So I don't know. We'll see. Do you want to move over to another controversial thing that was said? Yes,
because the fact that you just said that, I think I know exactly where you're going. So why don't you take it there? Because I know that I'm along right with you.
Let me pull up the tweet. Liz Cambage sent the tweet.
There it is.
As per usual, it caused a stir because look, hey, you can say what you want about Liz Cambage. She's amazing content. So she says basically, like, the WNBA is where head coach can get paid 4 times the highest players, supermax salary. Y'all think I'm going to spend another year upgrading my seat on a flight to get to games out of my own pocket.
Okay.
That's what she tweeted. Clear, it's that very strongly implies that she's not going to play in the WNBA this year, which is a shame. But I think she has a point. She definitely has a point. Becky Hammon's getting $1 million. The highest paid WNBA player can only be paid $228,000. It ignores a lot of the labor market in basketball because the players have a union, so you guys all collectively bargain for that salary. And if you didn't, then maybe one player would get $1 million, but then the rest of you would get nothing.
Right.
So it ignores that, but she's definitely right. I think she's pointing out a flaw in this, in our CBA, in that, there's no restriction on coaching making money, but there is grand restrictions on how players can fly to games. So I sympathize with her. I think her point's been lost a little bit, but I don't know. What was your reaction to this?
I first started reading it and I was like, whoa. And then I kept reading and I was like, hey. So for me, I think it was a little bit, at first I was trying to figure out if she was joking.
Right.
And then I was like, I don't think she's joking. And then I was concerned because this is a league that, all of us involved, press included, players, coaches, trainers, media,
alumni.
we've invested, everybody, we've invested so much in this game to support it for generations to come. And it's just really disheartening to hear the negativity and the tone there. With that, I understand what she's saying financially, but this league is still in building mode. This league is by no means where it will be. And I just think if we're destructive on the way to build, then that's going to do us no good. And I understand that she's frustrated, but she can't tear down the league that she has also worked so hard to build. That's my initial reaction to it, that she can feel the way she feels, but I think to put it out to the masses, I think it's undoing. It's like untying your shoe. Like we're trying to tie the shoe and you keep pulling it and untying it. Like, let us walk forward and try to do the best we can do to continue to grow and build the game. We don't need to be tripped up right now with a negative tone. I think, she can do so much with her voice in a positive way. So let's do that instead. Or maybe say that and say, we can still continue to build the game or something, that is in support of the league instead of like just ripping it to shreds.
No, I
don't like that he said that.
I don't like it either, but it's a point that needs to be made. And I think Liz gets a bad rap for this stuff because she does do it like this. She's not someone who is tactful. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. She's not tactful. She's not someone who goes at problems thinking about the potential ripple effects of what she's saying. And it's gotten her in trouble on occasion, and it'll get her in trouble again. And here though, I don't think I think she is right to say whatever she wants.
True.
And
I agree.
And I think she brings up a lot of good points, and she could say however she wants. And I think, frankly, she has pushed the league forward with this stuff that it's annoying, right? However, because she has such a big voice and because her voice reaches outside of our walls, these things have an effect. And I think the net effect of this in the end will be positive because it's bringing more to light the inequalities that still exist. The thing that is more important, though, is definitely the Courtney Vandersloot situation, not just for the off court. I'm talking off court. The Courtney Vandersloot situation is way more important than anything Liz Cambage just said in terms of what's going to happen in the WNBA from a bird's eye perspective.
Right.
Okay, we got to get going. All right, because we need to give Sylvia Fowles her time.
Let's go.
The last ride in Minnesota. She signs for one more year. It has been reported that Angel McCoughtry and Laisha Clarendon will join her. I have not seen an official report on either of those players.
Official either on that.
No, but Syl is here. She's announced it's her last season.
Oh man,
I got a little goosebumps saying that.
I did too.
I'm sad. I'm happy we get it for one more year. I don't know. I mean, how can we even put into words what Syl has meant to this league in this game?
Oh, we got to give her flowers though, right? I mean, for the impact that she had, not just in the WNBA, but USA basketball, and then on back at LSU with Simone Augustus as her teammate there. I just think you can just flip the pages of her journey, and all of it has just been exceptional. And it's going to continue. I mean, she wants to be a mortician and she's been studying over the last several years on that. So, I mean, she's going to be doing what she wants to do. And I like that she's going out on her terms and saying, this is my last year. And I think that's commendable and respectable, as I said. But I think for her overall big picture of her career, I mean, give her a crown. I mean, crown her for all the gold medals, all the championships, everything that she's done for the game, and the way that she's just been businesslike and meticulous with how she has operated on and off the court.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's just been an inspiration to so many. And I think all the players who have suited up next to her in a Minnesota uniform with the Lynx, and all the coaches who have coached her, I mean, it's just nothing but respect coming her way with what she's been able to do to impact the game in a positive way. And she's always going to be like that as a woman. And she's always going to be like that when we talk about her after her retirement. I mean, we're always going to know Big Sil as being not just in stature, but big hearted, big competitor, big champion, big gold medalist, like all of that. It falls under that umbrella for her. And I'm just so proud to have been able to watch her career, you know, from college to now.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be in awe of her sustainability of excellence over the course of her career as well. I mean, it's been remarkable.
It's been special. And we're just really lucky to have seen so much of her career and been witness to it. And I think this year's going to be, I mean, she was awesome last year. So I don't know. She's 35. There's no signs of slowing down.
No.
So she'll go out, you know, on top of her game. And I'm really happy for her. I think it's an awesome thing. And, you know, I really criticize Minnesota and Cheryl Reeve for not giving Simone Augustus that last dance. Because I think your legends deserve it. And I did the same thing with the Miami Heat when they lost Dwayne Wade briefly. You know, your legends deserve a last try because they put it in for you. You got put in for them. And I'm happy Minnesota did that. I'm happy Sil is coming back. I'm happy it's all happening in Minnesota, and we don't have to worry about her, you know, leaving or anything. So and you know, hey, the team's gonna be pretty good. We have to wait until we see McCosher's numbers, Angels, Laisha's numbers. You know, just like what the rest of the team looks like. Obviously, Nafisa Collier's probably going to miss most of the year because she is pregnant. Congratulations to her.
It's a baby girl too.
I know it's really exciting. It is sad that she's not going to be there for Sil's last year, but I mean, we saw something really, really special. And I mentioned, I want to mention one tweet from Snap Wilson who said that that WNBA fans will miss Sylvia Fowles, but the real Sylvia Fowles fans are going to let her embalm us when we die. As our mortician, you know, we're gonna take a group road trip to wherever Sylvia Fowles after we die, so she can embalm us and put us into. I don't know what morticians do. I'm gonna be honest. It seems a little gross, but good for her. I'm glad she has goals. And I forgot the other tweet that I was gonna mention about Sylvia Fowles, but regardless, it is legendary career. That we're gonna watch come to the end. Oh, that's what I remember. I think every WNBA team. Do you remember when Derek Jeter retired?
Yes.
And every team had to give him a present. And some of the presents were like really weird. I want that to happen in the WNBA. I just want that. Every
road trip.
They have to give her some sort of present, and so it's like, you know, it's like a kid's birthday party. Like you have to give him a present. You have to tell a kid like, oh, you know, pretend that you like you if you don't, and then like, you know. We'll see what happens. Like let's see Sylvia Fowles eat Ben's chili bowl. Also, would be great if we do it pregame. Mystics, think about it. Give her Ben's chili bowl before the game. She's not going to be 100% in that game. So.
Ben's chili bowl is very, very good though. So she will be super full. I get what you're saying.
Exactly. Okay. Let's go rapid fire here because we took an hour talking about this stuff. All right. We have John Cole Jones taking less money to come back to Connecticut. I tweeted out the numbers and I've since forgotten them. Great job, Gabe, for getting your own reporting. I believe she was at I'm just gonna look it up in my own Twitter account.
218.
205.
205.
205 starts. She gave back a shade over $20,000 to enable Connecticut to probably sign Courtney Williams, although that was not announced today. So we'll see where that goes. But that one's done. We talked about that on our last podcast. Yeah. We have Asia Wilson returning to the Las Vegas Aces, restricted free agent, so she couldn't really go anywhere, but she's back nonetheless and happy to do it. So there's another one there, another move that happened. Sophie Cunningham is re-signing in Phoenix for some over the minimum, so it will not be a training camp contract.
Right.
And then we have Atlanta trading a 3rd-round pick for Kia Vaughn in a move that has made me furious. I'm going to wait until Friday to talk more about it because it's so minor and so minutia that I don't think we should get into in this podcast. But that also pushed then Kia Stokes back to Las Vegas because she was reportedly signed with Atlanta before that trade goes down. And also in that trade, Phoenix saved a bunch of cap space to perhaps bring in Tina Charles. So any of those things you want to comment on?
Oh, that last part, bringing in Tina Charles to Phoenix. I mean, could that be the reason why they're moving things around and shuffling? I mean, I could see that. And, she would be a great mix there. She would be a great mix there for them.
I don't know if she'd be
a inside.
Do you think she'd fit? I don't think she fits. I think it'd be cool. I don't think she fits though.
I mean, I think it would be cool. But I also think it fits in a way because it's different than what they would typically do. Right. Yeah. And it would be intriguing to see how they would find a place for her skill set in what they do. And I think that would be fun to see. So in that respect, I like it because I like seeing how people figure out things. It helps me figure out things. So I like it, but it is very cool just to think about on paper. Yes. But I think throw them all on the court and I am watching every little thing that's happening and to see how they would, make that be a seamless transition and make that combination work on the floor. It'd be interesting.
I guess Brianna Turner's a small forward now.
True.
I mean, she could do. And look. Hey, gather the talent. It's always my philosophy. You gather the talent and you figure it out later.
That's right. Tina can shoot the 3. Now, she showed that last year. I mean, she can stretch the floor a little bit now, so it's not like she's paint dominant.
Yeah.
Right. Even though she's amazing down there, but she's not only down there. Right. She can open up the floor a little bit.
Sure.
That would be interesting to see. I would like to see that if that happens. I would love to see her back in DC, but I digress. But I mean, if she has to go, Phoenix is, I think, interesting.
We'll leave it at interesting. I don't know. We'll probably talk more about this on Friday if it happens. But I don't know. It'd be cool. I'm down for it. I don't have any stake in the Phoenix Mercury. I always tell people I hope the Mystics do well because that's great job security for us. The more relevant the Mystics are, the more relevant we are, and we live in a world where we need likes and validation from strangers on the internet. So that's the only thing I hope for. The Mercury, I don't care if they're good. I hope they're interesting because that's more interest for me. So I'm sure we're missing stuff in the WNBA. Let us know in the comments if there is stuff that you want us to talk about. And we probably have talked about it over on Her Hoop Stats. Substack.com. We're probably going to talk about it on Friday with Richard Cohen. You can follow us on Twitter at Her Hoop Stats and subscribe because that's all good.